What's up, guys? I was working at Allentown Refrigerated Terminals, and I'm pumping out 80 hours a week for them. I had a key to open the building up. Like, yo, that's how much they trusted me. They had given me my own key. I could literally open up the warehouse before any other employee came in. I had my own key that day. The incident went down, right? I had a key to the building, right? Like, because I was always the first one in and usually the last one out. And I say that like it's just me. It wasn't always just me. My buddy Jeff, was oftentimes with me. So usually me and Jeff were getting in together and leaving together. He was like one of my best friends, and he was like, I guess the main floor manager, right? And then Donna was his boss. She was in charge of the entire upstairs, right? And then so Donna promoted me to, she made a position for me because she could tell I was getting like angry, that I wasn't getting recognized, I guess, not getting recognized for the work I was doing, right? So she made up a new position because COVID-19 had caused us to, get so much cold stuff in a day that she had promoted me to being in charge of the inventory and everything that came in, right? And she gave me she put me in charge of the entire upstairs deep freezer, the upstairs section, which included all of the Bake Me Wish, even some of the Jewish cold food stuff. But it was a lot, right? It was a whole lot. So I was in charge of all the cakes coming in, which during the height of COVID we were getting $20,000 to $30,000 worth of cakes a day. And then when that dropped off, there was still a lot to do up there because we had a whole bunch of accounts that needed to have their products rotated a certain way because there's expiration dates, and you wanted somebody who was going to be responsible enough to do that. You didn't want to find out that you got a pallet full of cakes that are no good because nobody looked at the date that they expired and rotated them to the front when they moved the old ones back. So I had been put in charge of this, and I'd been given a couple raises, and I was promised another raise, but I hadn't even gotten it yet, right? So I know that kind of played a part in it too, because this lady, she just got caught, giving this other kid this crazy raise, and because of that, I don't think there was even money available for her. I think that's why she was waiting to give me mine, and then she knew that I found out about how much he was making. I think she knew there was going to be, some kind of tension there. So, but at the same time, she needed me. I was really one of their best employees. But, when I got promoted, these two kids, man, this one kid was like the other kid's lackey, really. So it was really mainly like the one kid. And all he wanted to do during COVID-19 was put a cake in a box, put a label on it, and seal it shut, right? And then when I got promoted, he thought that I was just gonna let him do whatever he wanted with the deep freezer. I'm like, no, there's no way that I'm doing all this work during COVID-19. We got $30,000 worth of cakes coming in, and I'm the one doing all this. I'm the one organizing the deep freezer, and you're telling me that once it slows down, don't get used to the way I'm doing it, because when it slows down, you're gonna reorganize the freezer your way. I'm like, no. We almost fought over this. Like, literally, I was like, he thought he could talk to me a certain type of way, and nobody's gonna talk to me a certain type of way. And so me and Jerry almost got into a fight. And then he realized real quickly that I had officially been promoted, and it was out of his control, and on top of that, he wasn't going to talk to me like that, and then to make matters even crazier, Donna pulls me aside, right, and she was like, "You want me to fire them?" And I told her no, right, because Jerry and Ethan had been I don't know. we had somewhat been friends, I guess you could say, before that. We were friends. I'm a friendly guy, man. I like people, and I don't hold grudges most of the time, right? So she was like, "You want me to fire them?" And she was like, She wanted me to fire them. So yeah, I had the opportunity to get these two kids fired, and I said no. I said, you know what? They're still better than attempt, because the Dems don't do anything, and they'll get over this. I mean, like I just made up some excuses because I liked them. Like I didn't hate the guys, but I was really gonna fight Jerry if he tried to tell me that he thought he could, like, yo, you're not gonna talk me out. Like, I was ready to forgive and forget, man. Then again, I was the one who, got the promotion. So maybe it was like, eating at them a little bit more. I know that, they were stewing on I wasn't, man. I was like, and I could have got him fired, but I didn't. And they didn't know that, right? But so anyway, this medical event happens. I go out to the Murano, and my body went into shock, I guess, from the rapid change in temperature. I'd been in front of these jet turbine blowers that were blowing freezing cold air for like 5 hours, and to go from that to 100 degrees was too much, right? And like I said, next thing you know, I'm being sucked down the straw, and in my mind, I died. I was dead. I was gone, right? I knew once that straw sucked sealed up over my head, the ground sealed up over my head. That was it. Like, I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it, right? And when it happened, the sky just flashed this last time like a heart monitor, and I, like, that's what I recognized it. Like, it was like my heart was like flatlining, and then it was just blackness, right? And then I swear to God, it was like I watched Pink Floyd The Wall way too many times on Lucy, because it's like, turn down the wall, boom, right? And next thing I felt like I was on the tip of a nuclear missile. That's what I felt. I felt like I was riding some kind of nuclear missile, right? And the closest witness was like, I had a seizure. I went, it looked like I had a seizure getting out of the Murano. I hit the ground. I flopped around like a dead fish. I went limp. I was laying on my back. I looked like I was dead. And but before they had time to react, because there was no one even that close to where I was, they're probably, what the hell, right? And before anybody had time to process what had happened, um, I don't know if it sounded like they said they heard a loud screaming. I know I did in my head. It was just like the end of Pink Floyd The Wall. Maybe it was me screaming, but it was like, rah! And then all of a sudden, I don't know if it was like they heard, like I was screaming from the ground, but they said I was limp on my back. I looked like I was dead, and then there was this loud scream, and I had leapt off of my back. I had landed on my feet, right, and I'm like in a full run from landing on my feet to the main road, just booking, like running for my life. And I look behind me to see if it's about to catch me, and all I see is concerned coworkers and looking at me. Look down, I'm covered in mud, blood. I didn't know what happened. And at first, it was, and then next thing you know, the kid Ethan, he was out there. He saw it, and he was like out for blood. He was like, oh, he ran through the warehouse and was telling everyone I overdosed, which did not happen, but it didn't matter because they were pouring out of the doors like I was like some sort of fucking freak show exhibit. And it was so much I couldn't even process it, man. People were telling me I overdosed, and I didn't even know what happened, man. And at the time, I think I was still on probation. I wanted to cry. I started to walk. I was so upset. And then this car pulls up. It's being driven by the lady who's in charge of the entire warehouse that day. The main manager had left, the guy downstairs, and he left his secretary in charge. And she's in the passenger seat. My buddy's driving. They're like, hop in, because it had gotten crazy. Everybody had come out. The kid ran telling everyone, right? So they're like, we'll drive you down to the gas station, get you a soda. And, during that process, like they said, and then you fell out of your, and then it came back. I didn't tell them about the near-death experience, but I remember that it was, this medical event from the rapid change in temperature. Is what had caused me to have this medical event. And by the time I got back, I was told that they fired me while I was gone. It's crazy. And then they wouldn't let me